Can I be like the ancient aliens guy? Be like, cannon.
Yeah, sure. But you have to hold your hands up much higher.
Here?
Yeah.
Cannons. Alright guys, today you're here with Ben and we're heading out to Ruette in Austria to check out the Bergen Belt, or in English, the World of Castles. As it stands today, the Bergen Belt offers 4 medieval ruins, some historical reenactments, plenty of alpine hiking, and not to mention just an enormous amount of history. This area has been a hotbed of activity for thousands of years and was formalized into a trade route in 15 BC, which gives a great perspective and a chance to witness tons of different castle building techniques. We're going to be exploring all of these sites today, as well as simply just experiencing the impeccable Austrian countryside. Though one of the best things about this trip is actually its more a la carte nature. You see, you don't have to visit them all. They're all free, so you can really pick and choose how to explore this place to fit your traveler style and how much time you have. I know what you're thinking, it all sounds fantastic, but here's the problem. How are we going to get there? The Bergen Belt can be accessed most easily by car, and if you have that at your disposal, I'd highly recommend it. It has a convenient parking lot for a €4 fee. We, however, as usual, will be traveling to Ruette by train from the Munich Hauptbahnhof. It's about a 2-hour, 40-minute ride, but it goes pretty quickly, and especially as you're going into Austria, the mountains are fantastic. Then, once we actually get to Ruette, we have a couple options. That I'm going to be completely honest with you, none of them are particularly great. We can call a taxi, we can take a one-way bus, or we can simply just leg it. I'll just be walking, as it's only a couple kilometers anyway. You could easily do this trip in a day, but honestly, I'd recommend making a weekend out of it by either taking it slow in Ruette or connecting it to one of the other day trips that we have in the area, such as Fusen or Garmisch-Partenkirchen. That's all the setup we got, so let's go get on the train. Alright everybody, we just got off the train and we're here in Ruette. Ruette in Tyrol, Schulzentrum. This is the southern station. I don't know why they have 2 here because it's quite a small town, but hey, they do. The southern one is a little bit closer to the Bergen Belt, which is great because we're going to be walking there, as you know. Now, I'm not 100% sure on how to get there. I've done a lot of research online and I found a couple iffy maps, and Google Maps still doesn't know the way. So I'm going to be kind of putting that together and orienteering on the fly. But you guys don't have to worry about doing any of that because I'm going to make a custom Google map for you guys and put it down in the description below. You'll see the link. But before I start that walk, it's going to take about 40 minutes to get there. We're going to grab some breakfast. See you once we're there. Okay, so we've arrived at the parking lot and it is indeed convenient. I didn't really mind the walk here from the train station. 3/4 of it was paved just walking through Ruette itself, and then the last quarter was an uphill woodland path, but compared to what we're going to be doing, it really wasn't that bad. If you do get a bit tired, you don't think you can do it, but you still want to get here by train, there is also the option of a taxi. It's only €3 per person, back and forth between the town and Ehrenberg. But of course, for that, you need cell phone signal so you can call them. I'll put the information for the taxi service below just so you can find it. Now that we're actually here in the Bergen Belt, let's find out what it actually is. It's a series of partially restored ruins that were once connected to form a mighty defense network in the area. Why bother with any of that? Well, along this path is the 2,000-year-old trading route Via Claudia Augusta. This route led from the Adriatic Sea over the Alps and then all the way up to the Danube River in Germany. The most notable and precious commodity to move through these hills was white gold, or as you might know it, salt. Historians estimate that 10,000 tons of salt passed along this road each year. And that is why they needed a defense network to maintain control, levy tariffs, and otherwise just be in charge of the traffic coming through this region. But for now, let's check out how they did it. So here's the entrance to the Bergen Belt and our first stop, the Klaus. This served as a guest house and pit stop for people to levy tariffs and control traffic from all the traders going along the Via Claudia Augusta. While many parts of the Bergen Belt remain historic and in ruin, the Klaus has been somewhat modernized. A museum was also added to make it a bit more child-friendly. Everything here is a little free, but the museum costs extra. The Klaus also offers living history days with full costume reenactments and all kinds of exciting events. I'd recommend checking their schedule before you plan your visit just to see if it can line up. All right, so we just finished up at the museum. Well, I say we just finished at the museum, but actually we stopped by the restaurant. It has some amazing outdoor seating, so we basked in that alpine sun. But with that taken care of, we have officially finished everything there is to do in the Klaus. So let's continue on to our second stop, the Ehrenberg ruin. There are plenty of clearly marked paths with signage everywhere giving you the distance and the direction, so it should be pretty easy for you to figure out. But fair warning, many of the paths up to the ruins can be a little steep. A bit of physical fitness is required, or at least plenty of rests and water. Just please wear appropriate clothing. The last thing you need on the way to these ruins is some awkward chafing. It'll ruin your whole day. So let's get walking. Okay, so I didn't expect this to be here because I'd looked this up a lot online and I'd never actually seen a proper map of this place as it was supposed to be. So let's use this map to figure out, like, why did they put everything here and what's it all for? What's really cool is that you can see the Via Claudia Augusta coming through the gorge, right? Which is why they have the main Klaus. Obviously the Klaus that we went to is a bit of a shadow of its distant path, but this would entirely plug up with the walls your ability to travel through, and that's how they would be able to so effectively levy tariffs on trade and control who gets to go through. They literally built a fortress gate in the gorge. But people hate paying taxes, so they'll do anything to get out of it. And that's why you'd need to then connect the ancillary fortresses and castles together with these walls. So if you can't go through the gorge, you're gonna find the lowest hill possible. And that one you can see by Hornwerk, which is exactly why they built Ehrenberg itself. It's sitting here, putting out its might and saying to everybody, don't even fucking try it, mate. So it's really cool seeing all the castles together in formation with the built walls, because it really does let you know the power that was going through here and how much money must have been flowing through this gorge to make it all worth it anyway. But with that little stopover, let's continue up to the top and check out the rest of this fortification. All right, the hiking was no joke, but we finally made it into the Ehrenberg ruin. This is the oldest of the castle ruins that we're going to be able to go to today. This was built in 1290 by Count Meinhard. A castle's form heavily reveals its function: protection from medieval attacks. However, the types of sieges and attacks that a castle is really concerned with belie the time period that it was built, unless we're talking about Neuschwanstein, because that thing was just pure vanity anyway. As you can see behind me, 13th century castles were built with comparatively thin and tall walls. The main entrance to Ehrenberg consists of two gates, the first one with the bastion and the second one that actually had a drawbridge. Sadly, the drawbridge is decayed and hasn't been restored, but if you look above the door, you can actually see the holes where the hinges would have been. There is also a sneaky night entrance around the side that is very narrow and could have easily been defended. You really couldn't get that many guys through it in one time. A natural choke point. This design was all about shepherding your attackers into those weak positions so that the castle defenders could easily shoot down their enemies from safety. This castle saw many battles, most notably in 1632, where it successfully repelled 16,000 Swedish soldiers in the name of Catholicism. This design worked really, really well up until a new weapon up and blasted itself onto the scene: cannons. In a way, I really view this castle like the Motorola Razor. It fit the needs of the people for a long time. Sure, it was impractical in a lot of ways by modern standards, but it had its charms, even some upside. It wasn't particularly flexible, but iconic and remembered nonetheless. But for now, let's go check it out. This ruin is absolutely massive, and so there's going to be a lot to see. Now, we know that Fort Claudia has been connected to the main range of castles with a wall for quite some time, But the idea of connecting the two ruins via a suspension bridge was originally presented to the public in 2003. The proposal was originally not worked on due to just the sheer cost of making the world's longest pedestrian suspension bridge, so a proposal was then pushed up to the EU, who decided to grant funding for the project as it promotes the history of a multicultural region, which, considering the EU's goal of breaking down borders, I think it fits in quite nicely with their strategic mission. It is 110 meters above the A179 highway, for which it gets its name. It's 403 meters long and can hold 500 people at a time. How about we cross this thing, huh? Ben's no liar. This makes me a little bit nervous. We're gonna do it anyway, that's what's important. It's a little daunting. Oh, we're barely even started and it's wiggling. Wow. Okay. I keep a hand on the railing at all times and I don't know, don't think about it. I think when doing things like this, it's best to just, I don't know, think about everything in the abstract. I'm just looking at a mountain, just looking at a road, taking a step forward, just looking at a bridge. If you start to think about all the things together, well, I don't really think that helps you, does it? We're most of the way there now. It's quite windy actually, it's really cold. I'm wearing shorts and that's probably not the best thing. I mean, it was really good when I was walking up the mountain, but it's pretty bad for this. Let's go see the castle. It's gonna be a snowy hike there. Camille's just in the background falling over, don't worry. Right, we just got done with the bridge and we're about to move up to Fort Claudia. Should only take about 15-20 minutes. The thing that I always forget about being out here, being in Austria, is that it's the snow. When does it leave? Never mind. I'm gonna conquer the snow for Claudia. I'm gonna get you some views. I'm gonna tell you all about it. Let's go. It's on. Don't die. At least not with the camera. So this is Fort Claudia, a Baroque period, late 17th century castle built immediately into obsolescence as an expansion to the Ehrenberg fortification. The hill had been pivotal in the reconquest of Ehrenberg back in 1532, which is where they got the smart idea to fortify it. However, as with many things, they simply took too long and they missed their window of opportunity, making Fort Claudia the castle equivalent of the Moto Razr 2, came out in 2007. Don't get me wrong, it's a really cool phone and a follow-up to an incredibly popular design, but it came out the same year as the iPhone. There were plans to modernize Fort Claudia, as well as Ehrenberg for that matter, but after the Tyrolean cannon attack, funds were all pushed to the creation of Schlosshof, Blackberry of castles. Regardless, I still think Fort Claudia is really worth visiting. The bridge to get here is really something, and the wooden ramparts that have been added give you amazing photo opportunities that you just don't get anywhere else in the other castles. Overall, having each castle come from a different time period and a school of thought, and yet still be within walking distance, I think is really, really cool. I really hope you come here and check it out. I've had a really wonderful time so far, but for now, I think I'm gonna turn the camera off and enjoy it a little bit myself. And after we're done with that, we'll head up to Schlosshof to see what a cannon-ready castle would look like. So if the hike to Ehrenberg was no joke, then the hike up here is gonna have to be a serious drama. I mean, it took us maybe an hour, which is longer than the 45 minutes that they tell you it's gonna take. Bear in mind, we were recording and it is covered in snow. It is continuously and properly steep for about 30 odd minutes. And then once you hit the crest, if you come here during the wrong season, it's a proper snow covering to the point that it can get up to your knees. I think that discourages a lot of people from coming up here because I only saw maybe 3 or 4 people in total, but don't let it discourage you. It is 100% manageable and the views from all the way up here are really, really great. Okay, don't know if you can see that, but that means the entrance to the castle Schlosshof is blocked. Now, I cannot confirm nor deny getting B-roll for Schlosshof regardless. But yeah, you might want to check on the website and see if you can find out if they've opened this up. It seems like they've closed it down just because of the sheer amount of snow that needs to drain out of here that would make it quite dangerous. Still pretty cool though. But what we have here is the 1741 model of castle. It's called Fortress Schlosshof. And the reason why it was built was because in the 1700s, the Tyroleans rolled up to Ehrenberg and just blasted it to pieces. This destroyed much of Ehrenberg Castle. It proved overnight to everyone involved that that form of castle building is obsolete, much like the unveiling of the iPhone. Paradigms were shifting and people were going to need to catch up. Schlosshof was built to protect from this new weaponry. And the difference in architectural thought is astounding. While Ehrenberg has comparatively thin and tall walls, these couldn't be any more different. These are a solid 8 meters thick, cannon-proof. This castle, as I learnt the hard way, is also just significantly higher up the mountain itself, making the logistics of bringing a cannon up here all the more difficult. With all that in mind though, as formidable as it is, it was never actually put to the test. And because it didn't really see any action, it quickly fell into ruin. It just wasn't really worth maintaining. After that, it kind of just fell into obscurity and then completely forgotten about, even by the people of Ruette down below. From there, the earth reclaimed the land, with trees and overgrowth making the castle barely visible at all. An attempt at a modern solution for a modern problem, but just completely in the wrong direction. Much like the BlackBerry Curve, they were investing in hardware when they really should have been investing in software. And that's exactly what led to their ruin. The phone and the Fortress. This all changed in 2008. For the Fortress, not at all for the phone, as a massive beautification endeavor was embarked upon across the entire ensemble of castles. Schlosshof was cleaned up and advertised and made mainstream to all the locals. Hey everybody.
So we're back in Munich. We've had a lot of time to review the footage and start putting together most of the video. We're going to round out this episode by talking about what we liked about Ehrenberg, what we found challenging, and stay tuned to the end. We're going to talk about who we would actually recommend this for.
Because it's not exactly for everybody, but hopefully with the help of this discussion and the video itself, perhaps some comments, you'll be one of those people who can make it.
What did you like about Ehrenberg World of Castles?
Right, so what sets this apart from most sites is that you've got a lot of variety in one location. One of my favorite things to do, even though it's a bit dorky, is learn by contrast. I love seeing different sites and comparing how they were achieving their goals in different ways. And I mean, you don't even need to go to different places when you're at Ehrenberg because you've got all the different sites. It really illustrates the difference between like the 1100s era castle of Ehrenberg and say the 1800s era fortress of Schlosshof. I mean, they're all looking for the same goal, right? So the design differences really must just be the considerations of the times. And it's just excellent as you're walking around the ruins, seeing like the wall thicknesses because they're scared of cannons now, or the wall heights because it gives archers better reach. And it was just really cool walking around and seeing all those differences. I loved it.
So that was a very educational answer.
Yeah, from the educational perspective. What about you? What was your favorite thing?
I enjoyed how outdoors central this trip was. It's in the center of the Tyrolean Alps, so no matter what you end up doing, you're always surrounded by beauty and by nature.
Can't get away from it.
I'm going to give bonus points to the fact that you can really pick and choose how outdoors you choose to go. You could do what I saw a lot of families doing and just hike up the 20 minutes through the woods
just
to
Ehrenberg
and go back down, and still, from what I noticed, seemed to be very satisfied.
Oh, they were super happy.
Or you could do what we did, and you could walk all the way up to Schlosshof, which was a 2-hour hike.
Yeah, it's a bit extra.
It was still excellent.
Oh, it's so fun. I mean, it's beautiful. The views continue to be pretty. We saw about only other 3 people, right, and a dog. But it was kind of cool because it gives you the ability to get away from the crowd, see some views they're not getting to see, see the different castle. One guy brought his book and was just reading in a fortress.
You do
in a cool
you.
way. I don't know what he was reading, but it was really cool.
Yeah, so that we just highlighted some really positive stuff. Are there any challenges that you encountered?
Right, so we had to rewrite about a third of the script when we arrived because based off of, and this is the whole reason we're doing the whole channel,
There
right?
wasn't a lot of good information or clear information online about how to get around Ruette and then get to the actual
There were a lot of people
castles.
talking about it, and they were, I think they were tinting it a bit rose, if you will, because when we arrived, we expected the public infrastructure to be way more developed than it was because it isn't developed. I mean, just to the point that when you arrive at the stations, there are 2 of them, and neither of them have a good place for you to store your bags, which is something that you take for granted at places like Fusen for Neuschwanstein or Garmisch-Partenkirchen for the Zugspitze. You don't get that when you go to Ruette. And then when you're talking about the buses from the train station to Ehrenberg, they're all one way. So getting back, you're going to have to figure something out. They have a walk that you can do, but that's kind of meandering through the village and then through the woods and by some farms.
Now, you're saying there was a walk. There wasn't a walk. We connected three paths.
You can walk it. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And then with the taxi, you could also do that. They have flat rates, which is really awesome. It's like €3 per person to get from Ruette to Ehrenberg. But there was one taxi person working that day, and so it took 25 minutes just for her to arrive. It was just something you don't expect at a touristy location. So that's kind of cool if you like going off the beaten path, but that will come with challenges.
Yeah, so I think that actually leads us into our final thing we're going to talk about, is who would you actually recommend this to?
So I'm not going to recommend this necessarily to first timers. If you're not comfortable with kind of the Deutsche Bahn and German public infrastructure like that and public transportation, this is going to be very uncomfortable for you. This is a bit of a trial by fire. If you have done it before, if you've gone to Garmisch-Partenkirchen, I'm going to keep name dropping it. It's one of our videos, check it out. But if you've done all that and you feel really comfortable, maybe you've even got the app and all that stuff, then you're going to be fine. If you've got self-service to call the taxi, you can do it. If the Munich airport to Munich city centre is kind of confusing you, I know a bunch of people who kind of just took a taxi instead of the train. There's no hate in that you do what you got to do. If that's where you're at, then you're going to have some difficulties there.
Yeah, definitely.
So the more advanced you are, I think you'll know if you're capable of it. But I mean, does that cover it? Is there anybody else you'd recommend it for?
Children. I would recommend this for children. It's very hands-on. Before you enter the site itself, there's which you probably saw, an interactive sort of medieval history museum.
Right. It's great for kids.
Children having a blast, trying on all the armor and the blunted medieval weapons.
Super fun.
Yeah, after you leave that, when you get to the sites themselves, I just saw children, unsupervised children, just having a blast, running around, climbing, screaming, chasing each other. It looked like a lot of fun.
Right, there's no velvet ropes or anything like that. It's pretty raw. I mean, when you're walking around the castle, you can climb it, you can get on the walls. Be careful, but you could pretty much do whatever you want.
Yeah.
There was actually kind of a difficulty when we were shooting our B-roll sequence. Kids were just always getting in the way. And what you didn't see in the museum is hopefully it looked cool with me putting on the different armor and stuff, but I had to wait in line behind like a bunch of 7-year-olds, which made me feel really lame.
It was really weird.
But it was totally cool.
Yeah. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you feel empowered to go out and explore Ehrenberg.
I mean, that's the whole point. I mean, I want you guys to kind of see it and then go do it. So if you're considering doing it now, if you've never heard about this, if you're going to do it, if you've done it, hit us up in the comments below, because I'd love to engage with you guys and talk about it. If you're going to Germany soon, let me know. We can talk about it. And on that note, also, if you like the video, you want to see more, please subscribe. It helps us out to let us know that it's worth doing these things and continuing. So I'll see you in the comments below. And other than that, take it easy.